I have been on the Scarlet Witch and Vision train since I first watched Age of Ultron back in 2016.
20 minutes later.
I've been here for 6 years. I've been on the WandaVision train for 6 years, y'all.
6 hours later.
I just love seeing her get the attention and the praise she deserves. I've been on her train for 6 years, y'all. We know this. Guys, what's going on? So today we are discussing everything that I watched in the month of February. February was a very, very different month for me watching stuff wise than I'd say the past couple of months. Everything kind of flipped. I watched way more movies than I did TV shows. Now, like, don't get me wrong, I still watched consistently like TV every day for the most part, but it's still just, I don't know, I made a goal for myself to watch at least 20 movies in the month, and I surpassed it by I think 4 or 5, maybe 6 movies, something like that. And then I made the goal to complete 2 TV shows, and I also completed that goal. I think I finished, I mean, you'll see. We'll see how many I finished. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, I think I did pretty good. The only goal I didn't necessarily finish, or I didn't finish at all, not even necessarily, that I made in my last wrap-up video, was to finish the show Lovecraft Country. I still haven't finished it. I still have only watched 2 episodes. It's my new goal for March. I will be finishing the show, hopefully. And to be honest with you guys, the reason why I did not finish as much TV this month as I necessarily wanted to is because of these books. It's because of these books right here. This is the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. It's a YA fantasy series. This is the first book right here. There it is. Not to go into like, you know, like booktube or anything. I'm not wanting to take up too much of y'all's time, but I read these books back in like freshman year of high school or something like that. At least I read these 2 in my freshman year, sophomore year of high school, and then I guess this came out my junior year of high school, I think, maybe senior year, I don't remember. But yeah, they're amazing. This one, A Court of Mist and Fury, I consider one of my favorite books of all time. Maybe my favorite book of all time. We'll see about that, I don't know. I feel like I haven't read enough books in my life to determine a favorite book yet, even though I've read like over 300 books, according to my Goodreads, but still, I feel like I have way more of a testament to figure out my favorite movies, having seen over 1,000 movies according to my letterboxd, but books, I think I need to read another couple hundred before I can determine that fully. But anyways, so I've read these books before, and then Sarah J. Maas just came out with the 4th book in like the series, and I'm like so excited for it. But since it's been years since I've read these books, I was like, I'm gonna reread them. I'm gonna have so much fun, and I'm gonna reread this series that I love so dearly. So yeah, a lot of my February was spent doing nothing but just reading these books, which, you know, they're pretty, like, this is a big book. This one's pretty not as big, but like, still, I read this one in like a little bit less than a week, and then I read this one in like 3 days. So yeah, currently reading this one. I'm like 76% of the way through it according to Goodreads. I should be finishing it within the next 24 to 48 hours. It's a thing. I have been watching TV. It's just like, I'm not watching as much consistently every day. I'm watching maybe 2 to 3 episodes of one of the 20-minute shows I watch, and then the rest of my time is reading and not thinking about how I need to edit a video or do homework, and I just read. I'm getting the other things done, but like, I'm also reading. So yeah, that's pretty much the #1 culprit for why I haven't watched that much TV, but I still somehow found a way, especially I think in the beginning more half of February, to watch more movies. So without further ado, let's jump right on into the movies. So I'm actually gonna start off my movie talk kind of with a section of movies first that I don't really have anything to say about really any of them. So I'm gonna group them all into one category, and that is movies I've watched for school. None of y'all are aware of this, but I am taking a film class this year. like a film history class. I love it. I'm gonna be majoring in film, so this is my first film class I've been taking, and it is super duper fun. And we've been, as one does usually in a film history type class, we're watching movies. And we started off kind of just, you know, with like the beginning of film, and so I've been tracking what I've been watching, and I feel like people are gonna get mad at me for this, but a lot of those older, particularly silent movies just aren't my jam. They're just not my thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I fully 100% get the importance they have in cinematic history and how historic a lot of them are in like, and just how big of achievements they were for the time. I 100% get that, and I have total respect for every single one of these movies I'm about to list, because even if there's one that I did prefer over the other, I understand how just in that time period of like the 1910s, 20s, 30s, that whole time, making a movie in general was a feat. It was an accomplishment. It was so difficult with the type of technology they had, with the restrictions, especially when they weren't able to figure out how to really necessarily do sound yet, whenever they couldn't necessarily figure out how to do color yet, like all those things, and they still persisted and stuck to, like, all of these people worked so hard to make their craft and to make art, and it's really such a crazy thing to think about. Like, oh my god, all of a sudden one decade movies weren't a thing, and then boom, movies. It's crazy. It's crazy time in history, so I have total respect for every single one of these movies, but I just don't want y'all getting pressed at me when I don't rate them 10 out of 10s or anything like that, because it's like I was sitting there bored by a lot of parts of them, but then there's other parts it's like, wow, what an achievement for the time, but I really don't care about what's happening in this movie. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm gonna get so much hate for that, but it's okay. So the movies, I'm just gonna like list them off. The movies are The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, Metropolis, Battleship Potemkin, The Gold Rush, and Sherlock Jr. Those are the ones, we're still watching movies now going into March, but those are the ones that we watched in class through like our Zoom meetings or whatever, which surprisingly it's worked pretty well for us being able to watch the movie on our teacher's screen. It's worked really great, but those are what we've watched in February. I'd say my favorite out of all of those was definitely Nosferatu. I had a fun time with Nosferatu, but you know, vampire movie, what's not to love? I loved it. I'm a big fan of vampires, a big fan of vampire movies, so I loved Nosferatu. But my ratings for I appreciated just how interesting the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari was. I loved just kind of how the German filmmakers used like shapes and dimensions to their advantage. It was very different than some of the stuff we'd watched, like shorter, when she'd just shown us like clips of movies from the US in that time period. And when we went over to then the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, it was just like a completely different tonal shift, completely different in how it looked and just how it was stylized. So I appreciated that out of Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Metropolis, I can see how it's iconic. There were parts of it where I was like, ooh, okay. But then other parts where I was like, let's move along. Let's keep going. But there are definitely parts where I was like, cool. And a lot of these, especially like Metropolis, I definitely want to rewatch when I'm older and see if I have a new appreciation for them. And not even appreciation, because I appreciate them now, but maybe a new enjoyment for them would be the word. Like, I appreciate it, but enjoyment is questionable in a lot of aspects. The Gold Rush and Sherlock Jr., even though they're technically comedies, they were really meh. I don't know. They were meh. I'm so sorry. Especially with The Gold Rush. I really want to be able to enjoy it. It's just a struggle, man, when I've seen so many modern day films that are just so funny, and it's like, I'm moving on. Battleship Potemkin. Yeah, I don't even remember that one. I was just trying to remember it, and I was like, is that this one? But then I was thinking of a movie we've actually been watching in March, which there were actually some really interesting parts of that I enjoyed. I don't remember anything about Battleship Potemkin. That was like right in the middle of the month. I don't remember it. I'm so sorry. But anyways, so my ratings for these movies, I'm just going to read these off again. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, 7 out of 10. Nosferatu, 5 out of 5. Loved that one. Metropolis, 3.5 out of 5. Battleship Potemkin, 3 out of 5. Gold Rush, 3.5 out of 5, and Sherlock Jr., 3.5 out of 5. So I gave them pretty kind of high ratings for how I did not, for things that I consider really like had a little bit of a struggle getting through. If these were movies that had been made just in modern time and didn't have any historical significance to them, I probably would have rated them lower, but because they are such feats in film history, and they are some of the beginnings of horror, and they're some of the beginnings of comedy and stuff like that, I upped their ratings just out of like, good job, you did great, you're awesome, I appreciate you for what you did for the craft of filmmaking. Okay, moving on from movies I watched in my film class, the first film, or the next film I watched in February was actually the second James Bond movie, From Russia with Love. This is kind of like my opinion of the first one. This genre, at least where we're at in the 60s, is just not really my thing. The whole action genre, I don't know. I may start to prefer or enjoy the James Bond movies more when it gets to be more modern day James Bond, like maybe when we get to the current iteration of Bond or whatever. I've never seen any of them. I'm trying to go in chronological order in watching them. I love the theme song. That's exactly what I said for the first one. My main takeaway is that, man, that James Bond theme song, so good. Such a good theme song. Whatever composer came up with that theme song, good job on their part. They nailed it. They really struck gold with that creation of theirs. I also watched From Russia with Love for the movie club I'm in of a YouTuber I watch. That YouTuber is Dan Murrell. I talked about him a bunch in my October wrap-up because I was watching a lot of movies for his film club and his like Halloween, 31 Days of Halloween he did back in October. And when I got really behind on watching movies back in November and December, I totally got behind on watching movies that he was doing monthly in his movie club. So I've been slowly but surely catching up as best as I can with the time I have on movies from his film club, and From Russia with Love happened to be from his November segment of Dan's movie club. That was one of the movies chosen for November, so finally caught up on one of them there. I'll leave a link below to Dan Murrell's channel. Big fan of his. He's a great guy. He's a really smart movie critic. Highly recommend going and checking his channel out if you are a fan of movies or TV, but primarily movies. I would give From Russia with Love a 3 out of 5. I just realized I've been like changing all of my ratings for movies to being out of 5. In my head, I wrote them down, all my ratings out of 10, like I've done in every other wrap-up, but for some reason I've then been going, no, I have to do them in a 1 through 5 scale. I don't know why I've been doing that. So I'm gonna stop now. I prefer saying things out of 10, movie-wise. I prefer to go on a 5 scale basis for like when I log them on letterboxd, and then also when I log stuff like books on Goodreads, that's kind of when I go more on the 1 through 5 scale. But I don't know why, just when talking to y'all, it seems easier to do it on a 10 scale. So yeah, weird little side note. Let's continue. The next movie I watched in not November, February, is a movie that I did a reaction for you guys, and that is Crazy Rich Asians. Y'all, I so enjoyed Crazy Rich Asians. It was so fun. It was so well made. The actors did so good. The soundtrack was so good. Awkwafina was amazing, as she always is in everything. And that ending, that end credit scene, whenever Harry Shum Jr. pops in, I need the sequel because I need to see more of him with these characters. He just fits perfectly where his character's gonna be. It's like, yes, he was born to be there. I can't explain why. It's just a gut feeling I have seeing him in that end credit scene, just seeing him lock eyes with the certain girl that I won't name because I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it and cares about spoilers. The moment he locked eyes with that said character, I was like, this is it. This is what I've been needing. This is what this movie was needing, and I need the sequel. Also, the wedding, beautiful. I'm fully convinced now that I think the song that I like want to walk down the aisle to when I eventually one day get married is that version, the Crazy Rich Asians version of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Is that the whole song? I Can't Help Falling in Love? I don't know the full like official title, but the original Elvis Presley song that then became really big with that cover of it that was in that, like, I think of the gum commercial back in 2016. It was huge my freshman year of high school. It was like 2015, 2016, and that made the song huge again, that cover of it. And then there's another version now of it in Crazy Rich Asians, and I think it's my favorite version. It was just beautiful, and I just like cry every time I hear it. Surprisingly, I didn't cry when watching the movie for y'all, like recording it, but then when I was editing the video, I just started sobbing listening to that song. And then I had to stop editing and like stop watching the movie while editing and just like listen to the song on my phone, and I just sat there just listening, just full on chills. I was like, this is brilliant. Amazing. So yeah, I would give Crazy Rich Asians a 9 out of 10. And the next set of movies that I watched in February is another reaction I did for you guys, and it was a set of 4 movies, and that is the live action Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. I watched all 4 of them. I started filming at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I did not finish until about 7:30 in the morning. So not only did the thing I have going for me was that I was watching the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, but I was also desperately dying for sleep at the same time, especially when it got to be about 5:30, 6. I was struggling. I saw the sun coming up in my window, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do this, man. There's still an hour and a half left of this movie. Like, I still have the 4th movie to go, and it is morning, and I am seeing, I can just sense there are people getting up for some sort of work right now, and I am still here, sitting at my desk, watching a movie about talking chipmunks. And all I want to be doing is sleeping. So it was a struggle recording these movies, pretty much from the sleep alone. If I had maybe started earlier, which I wanted to, but time always defeats me and I always start things way too late than I should. But if I'd maybe started earlier, it maybe wouldn't have been as much of a struggle by the 4th movie, but it happened. Maybe it was funnier for the video, I hope so. But yeah, so let's talk about the movies. So if y'all watched the video, as you may know, that I watched the first 2 Chipmunk movies hundreds of times between pretty much when they both came out. I never saw the first 2 in theaters. I think my parents just like got them for me when they came out on DVD, I believe. And I watched them hundreds of times between, I think it was like from the age 7 to 10, something like that. I don't know why, but young child me, actual child me, I don't know what I'm saying, but the child version of me, for some reason, just loved them. I just loved those chipmunks. Maybe I thought their voices were funny. Maybe I just loved how those high-pitched voices sounded singing those covers. Also, just some of the plot. The plot was entertaining. It was a basic plot, but I found it entertaining. I don't really know. I was just captivated by them, as most kids are captivated by sometimes really bad things, you know? So, because of this nostalgia in me, I have been kind of really eager to rewatch those movies, because I always just, no matter how bad something is, if I watched it a bunch in my childhood, I still will always have an appreciation for them. Like there's something that, even if they shaped just a little slice of me, they're a part of me. Those 2 Chipmunk movies are a part of me. And then when the 3rd Chipmunk movie came out, in I think 2011, me and my dad actually went and saw it in theaters. I don't really know why it was just me and my dad, and my mom didn't go. She went to every movie with us. We were thinking that, we were actually theorizing about this when I was working on this video. We think it was because my mom was going to see Breaking Dawn Part 1 in theaters. I was not into Twilight at that point. I got into Twilight about 6 to 8 months later, after Breaking Dawn Part 1 came out. But I believe that's it. She chose to go see Breaking Dawn Part 1, and me and my dad were like, okay, well, let's go see the 3rd Chipmunks movie. I was like, I think 10, going on 11, or maybe I was already 11 by that point. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I have not watched that one as much as the first 2. I think I'd only seen it maybe 2 or 3 times, but there were parts of the movie in the theater that I really enjoyed, and then the 4th one I'd never seen. So this is my time after 8 years, 9-ish years, something like that. This was my time to rewatch all of them, and especially with the first 2 movies, there was some fun. There was a lot of fun with aspects of it. The first half of the first movie, very enjoyable. I would say that first half was pretty solid, and then it gets boring. And then the second movie, enjoyable parts. Zachary Levi's a highlight. The Chipettes coming in, a highlight. I think they're a great addition. But then again, it gets boring. Third movie, fun concept, some fun covers. Once you're watching them all in a row, you start to get tired of them, you know? 4th movie, there's one redeeming aspect. Spoiler for the 4th Chipmunk movie if you care, but they end up getting adopted at the movie, which I thought was a really solid arc from the first movie where Dave was like, you are not my kids, this is just a like business friendship, to then in the 4th movie he's like officially like legally adopting these chipmunks. It's crazy when you think about it, but in context of the movie it just starts to all make sense. The world has accepted talking chipmunks at this point, you know? And it's just kind of a good arc from where you see the relationship is at in the first movie to then 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I thought that was a sweet arc. The song that the Chipmunks and the Chipettes sing at this one event for Dave, and they like said that they wrote it for him. It was a really sweet song. That was pretty much it. The rest of the movie, I liked when they went to Texas. That was fun, mainly just because I'm from Texas, so, you know. But that was pretty much it for those movies. I feel like they're fun. I feel like I would have more fun if I had watched them all separately and not watched them back to back to back to back in the middle of the night. That made it way more of a struggle. I feel like if I had watched, you know, like one on one day, one on another day, it wouldn't have been as much of a struggle as it was for me. So my ratings for the Chipmunks movies, first one, Alvin and the Chipmunks, 6 out of 10. Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel, 6 out of 10. Alvin and the Chipmunks Chipwrecked, 6 out of 10, and then Alvin and the Chipmunks The Road Trip, 5 out of 10. Now you may be saying, those are pretty high ratings. I think I give the first 3 the 6 out of 10 because of a nostalgia factor. If I was watching all those movies for the first time, they'd probably be a 5. And then the last one gets that 5 because of that adoption factor at the end, just that arc wrapping up. I enjoyed that. If that adoption had not happened, that one would probably be a 4. And another reason I justify these ratings as correct is I do think of it on the 1 through 5 scale, like, okay, a 6 out of 10, it's a 3 out of 5, and that's also a 60%. 60% is failing. So technically all these movies failed, if you were to think of it as grading. Like, the first 3 are all 60s and the 4th one is a 50. Those are all failing grades, so that's how I justify the ratings, you know? Some people give these movies I see on letterboxd a 1 out of 10, a 0.5 out of 10, stuff like that. I just can't. Theodore's too cute. I have too much nostalgia. The covers can be very fun just because I enjoy hearing the music. Or it's like, hey, that's a throwback. I enjoy that song. So yeah, they're still a failing grade. They're still a failing grade. They're just a slightly higher failing grade than they're a D. I think a 50 would be considered maybe an F. And then the others are, I think, a solid D. So yeah, I think that's fair. The next movie that I watched in February is the new Zendaya movie on Netflix, Malcolm and Marie. I've been so excited about this movie, y'all, because Zendaya is one of my favorite actresses. I love her. I'm such a big fan of hers. I've been watching her since Shake It Up. I was watching Disney Channel when Shake It Up premiered, so I've been with her since pretty much the beginning of her career. And then, you know, I followed her as then she went into being in the Spider-Man movies, and then when she was in The Greatest Showman, I went and saw The Greatest Showman. Don't even get me started on The Greatest Showman. I get the controversy behind it, but just that music, it's too good. And Zendaya and Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron are too good. It's like I cried almost half the movie. I'll make maybe a whole story about that at some point, maybe when I'm talking about some of my favorite movies of all time, because you can bet The Greatest Showman is one of my favorite movies of all time. You know, I'm a musical theater kid. I couldn't resist. I could not resist. But yeah, I love Zendaya in that movie. And then of course, when Euphoria came out, I watched immediately. And surprisingly, when Euphoria first was like airing its trailers, I watched the trailers and I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna like this. I was wrong. I then watched it and I was obsessed. One of my favorite TV shows of all time. Brilliant. But anyways, so I've followed Zendaya in her career as she's grown, as we've both grown from teenagers into young adults, and Malcolm and Marie was great. I can definitely see where some people's criticism of it is. I think Zendaya and John David Washington did such a fantastic job. And it was interesting seeing, it was one of the first movies that was made like literally during the beginning of the pandemic, and so like there was so many precautions on the set and stuff, and I thought that was really interesting to see the movie knowing that this happened during this crazy year of a pandemic we've had, you know? And then I also I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I thought the conversations they had were really interesting. The topics they talked about, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I would give Malcolm and Marie a 10 out of 10. The next movie that I watched in February is a rewatch, and it's a beloved classic animated Disney movie that I love, and that is Atlantis: The Lost Empire. I grew up watching Atlantis, as a lot of people, especially 2000s kids, a lot of us grew up watching Atlantis, and 90s kids too, but anyways, I love this movie. I love Atlantis so much. For some reason, I thought this when I was young, and I kind of still think about this. I feel like Atlantis: The Lost Empire had so many doors open in it for this to be like an expanded universe, for there to be a series, at least another movie or two. I know there was a sequel, like one of those direct-to-DVD sequels. I saw bits and pieces of it on Disney Channel when I was young, but I have not watched the whole thing. I plan on watching the whole thing within the following months, so I will get back to you on what I think of that one. But I don't know, just all the lore and just Atlantis, the Atlanteans being down there, just all of them, it just seemed like there was so much, and it was also intriguing, and there was so much. It's like that's really the only words I can think of to describe it. It's like it just felt like they opened so many doors, and then they dealt with the one conflict, and then that was it. And it was like, oh my god, wait, what? They need to go back down there, and there's so much ground to cover with like that power that, what's her name? The main girl character, I'm blanking on her name. Kida. Yeah, I felt like that power that Kida, not even really power, but just that thing that Kida and her mom had with the glowy crystal. I cannot accurately explain what it was, but I just feel like, I don't know, I've seen the movie a bunch of times, but I feel like we could have explored that mythical kind of, or like spiritual, I don't really know what to call it. It was like a mythical spiritual power thing that like the royal women of the Atlanteans possessed, or maybe it was certain women in certain Atlantean women possessed this power, or maybe some men could have had the power. I don't know. I feel like that side of Atlantis, and then just more of the lore of Atlantis and that world, I felt like there could have been so much more. And usually I'm not one to be like, yes, I want a sequel for every Disney movie, because you know they're doing that with so many movies nowadays where everything gets a sequel. Every movie, or not every movie, but a lot of big blockbuster movies they're a studio trying to get a franchise going. They're trying to get a series going or something. So I'm not here saying, let's make an Atlantis sequel. Let's bring it back. I don't know. But I feel like if they were gonna do a sequel for something, just in the past 20 years or whatever, I feel like Atlantis maybe could have been one of the IPs that had enough that hadn't been explored yet that they could have explored. Like, there's other movies in the Disney catalog that they've made sequels to that I feel like didn't really need one, or they didn't really have any loose ends that needed to be tied, or there wasn't really much else to explore. I can't really think of any examples off the top of my head of that. I mean, I guess you could say maybe like the Cinderella movies or the Little Mermaid, but I love those sequels, so I'm not gonna say that, because I love the Cinderella sequels and the Little Mermaid ones. But I don't know, if they were gonna choose something, it's like difficult, because it's like, do I want them to accidentally make a bad sequel and tarnish that world and that first movie? But also then I'm like, man, I think they could do it. I think there's enough in that story that there could be another movie. It's like, I don't know where to say no to sequels and where to say yes to them. I just feel like this one is a possibility, and it's something that I think when I was younger, I was like, where's the sequel? Where's the sequel to this movie? And I'm still kind of like, I don't know. I'm gonna watch the direct-to-DVD one and see really how much that goes more to Atlantis. The most I remember from that sequel, when it would come on Disney Channel, was I remember them being in like ice, like in the Arctic. Like maybe they were in Antarctica or the North Pole. And for some reason, when I think back to that, I'm just like, why? You have so much going on with Atlantis. Why did you leave Atlantis? Why did you go to the North Pole or in Antarctica, wherever they were, where I remember these icy, cold scenes from the depths of my 6-year-old or 7-year-old brain? It's like, why were y'all there? Why was there not more going on with Atlantis? I don't know. I'll be watching the movie soon, within the following months, so I will keep you updated on my Atlantis ventures. I give Atlantis: The Lost Empire a 10 out of 10. Love this movie. One of my favorites of the Disney movies that came out in like that 2000s time. The next movie that I watched in February is a movie that I have been meaning to watch for a long time, and that is Carol, starring Rooney Mara and Cate Blanchett. I've been meaning to watch this movie for a while. I've always been very intrigued by the vibe of this movie that the poster and some of the images from the movie gave off, just like the whole wintry Christmas type vibe. I was like, I'm living for this. And I watched it and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well made. I think the actors did really well. I didn't like 10 out of 10 love it as much as I want to. That may need a couple more rewatches before it bumps up to that 10 out of 10 status for me. But for now, I give Carol a 9 out of 10. The next movie I watched in February, and this was the first, I believe, of kind of my effort to watch as many award nominated movies as I could as we're creeping up on award season. As of the time I'm filming this, the Golden Globes have already happened, so I was trying to watch as much as I could before the Golden Globes. Now, thank God, the next two big award shows that I'm anticipating are the SAG Awards and of course, the Academy Awards. Thank God those are in April, so I have a bit of time. I have a little bit of time to continue to catch up. I have not watched, there's still so many that I still have to see, but I made a decent amount of progress this month in getting through some. So the first of the award nominated movies that I watched in February, or at least ones that I know are nominated for Golden Globes or SAG Awards. I don't necessarily know what's going to be nominated for the Academy Awards yet. They haven't announced that, so my list of awards movies could be updated within the coming weeks once we get those nominations, but the movies I have in my list are ones as of Golden Globes and SAG Awards. But anyways, so the first one is Over the Moon, the animated Netflix movie Over the Moon, and I loved this movie, guys. I cried. Philippa Sue as like the star goddess lady, I don't remember her name. Amazing. That song she sings, the like Extra Luminaria song, I don't remember what the song is exactly called, but oh my god, that song is so good. And like the opening music, just the vibe, oh my god, it was so good. The whole movie was so good, and it had such a good message. It's one of those movies that it reminded me of like a Pixar movie where it has really kind of mature themes that it's like, but oh my god, I have like no words like thinking about it right now. It's like, it just blows me away how perfect this movie handled the topic of grief between our main young character and then Philippa Sue's moon goddess character, both of them handling grief in completely different yet similar ways. And it's just like, oh my god, grief and loved ones dying is one of the most tricky subjects that can be handled in a kids movie or in an animated movie, and I've seen so many, particularly Disney, Pixar, Disney too, but mainly Pixar movies I've seen tackle the subject and do it well. And the way that Over the Moon did it, they just did it flawlessly. I feel like they just how they explained how they just kind of went through the process of grieving and how they kind of explained it in a way, and just how they did it was just brilliant. I don't really want to try and explain it too much. Just go watch the movie. Most of you probably have Netflix. Go watch Over the Moon. One of the best animated movies of this year. Maybe my favorite animated movie. I may prefer it over Soul. If you couldn't already guess, Over the Moon is a 10 out of 10. The next movie I watched in February is a movie that I have been anticipating watching for a very long time, and I am very disappointed to say that I was not too big of a fan of it. And that movie is A Clockwork Orange. I'm so disappointed that I did not really vibe with A Clockwork Orange that much. I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan. I love The Shining. The Shining is one of my favorite movies of all time. My mind was blown by 2001: A Space Odyssey. I really enjoy that movie. It's just crazy, a crazy, crazy movie. And then I also really, really enjoy Eyes Wide Shut. I really, really enjoyed that movie when I watched it a couple of years ago. So I've been very looking forward to watching the rest of the Stanley Kubrick movies that I haven't seen, and I don't know why. I thought I would really enjoy A Clockwork Orange, and I didn't. There was parts of it I enjoyed. I didn't hate all of it, and I didn't even I didn't hate any of it. It was just kind of a not really vibing with it. So there were some parts I enjoyed, but overall, not my thing. I'll probably rewatch it at some point when I'm older to see if that changes. For now, A Clockwork Orange, based off of also just kind of my appreciation for the history it has and all that stuff, I have given it a 7 out of 10. The next movie that I watched in February is another movie that I did as a reaction for y'all, and that is To All the Boys, Always and Forever, aka To All the Boys I've Loved 3. I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. Rom-coms are one of my weaknesses, and this one, with them going to New York and just everything working out so perfectly, it was just a recipe for me loving it. I just really, really enjoyed this movie, and it kind of feels silly giving my rating of this after giving A Clockwork Orange a 7 out of 10, but I give To All the Boys 3 a 10 out of 10. I'm sorry. I just do. I just really enjoyed it, and I don't want to try and justify why I gave that movie 3 points more than A Clockwork Orange. I'm sorry. I just did. Deal with it, okay? Next movie. The next movie I watched in February was The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. This movie was fine. I liked the bits with Esmeralda and the blonde knight guy. I don't remember his name, but I really enjoy their relationship. I think they're very cute. When I first watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the first one, I loved that they were able to be together by the end. I really shipped them as a couple, so I was excited to see more of them in the sequel. I hadn't seen the sequel before. I remember years and years ago when I was like 13, I started to watch the sequel. I got like 10 minutes in and I was like, and I turned it off. So yeah, I watched the whole thing. Meh. It was okay. It was not one of the higher points of the direct-to-DVD Disney sequels. Not one of the higher ones. Maybe if I'd watched it when I was like 8 or 9 and have a lot of nostalgia for it, maybe. But as a 19-year-old me watching it, I would give A Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 a 6 out of 10. The next movie I watched in February is another movie that I was watching for awards season. This movie was nominated for literally just one award, and so I watched it. It was nominated for Best Original Score, and that was The Midnight Sky, starring George Clooney, and also I believe directed by him. And it was interesting. It wasn't like amazing, but there's definitely some aspects of it I was really vibing with. Some of the like scenes set in space, I was like, okay. Like there was this one scene, like it was a chaotic scene that ended in someone getting wounded, and that wound scene, for y'all who have seen that movie, that was crazy. That was one of the best scenes of the movie. And the score was indeed beautiful. It did not win at the Golden Globes, but it was a beautiful score. That's pretty much it about that movie. It was just overall, it was fine. It was fine. I would give The Midnight Sky a 7 out of 10. The next movie I watched in February was a movie that I did as a reaction for you guys, and that is The Goonies. The Goonies, as y'all would know from watching my video I did on the movie, it's one of the 80s movies, like 80s adventure type movies that I missed in my youth. I watched a lot of 80s movies growing up, and that was just one of the ones that I didn't get to. My parents didn't show me. It never came on TV, even though my dad loves The Goonies. It was just one of the ones that, I don't know, I guess it never came on TV or something. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really cute, fun adventure. I give The Goonies a 9 out of 10. The next movie that I watched in February is another awards movie, and this is one that is going to be kind of hopefully one of the front runners for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, so I'm glad I got to see this one. It's been one of the most hyped movies of this award season, and that is Minari. Minari was so good. Minari was amazing. The actors did a fantastic job. The story was so interesting. It was such a captivating and emotional story. I loved it. I really did enjoy Minari. I would give Minari a 10 out of 10. The next movie that I watched in February is another one of those kind of direct-to-DVD Disney sequels, and this is another one that was on Disney Channel a lot when I was young, and I watched bits and pieces of, but it wasn't one of those ones kind of like the Little Mermaid sequels or the Cinderella sequels where I actively watched them from start to finish all the time. This is one of the ones where it's like I saw bits and pieces of it, but I've never seen the thing all the way through, so I finally watched it all the way through, and that is the Peter Pan sequel, Return to Neverland. And I thought this was really cute. I really enjoyed the main character, and I thought she was a fun kind of twist or dichotomy from Wendy. It was Wendy's daughter, and instead of like with Wendy, you know, Wendy is adventurous and loves the story of Peter Pan and all that, and loves going to Neverland and all that type of stuff, you know? But then her daughter, being raised during World War II, is the complete opposite. She thinks they're just silly fairy tales, and she thinks that she needs to focus on the matter at hand, the war, and she wants her brother to, in her anger, she wants her little brother to stop with the silly nonsense, and because stuff happens where he ruins her little journal where she has her list of all of the important necessities they need to survive, and it's just a really different dichotomy from Wendy, who never wanted to grow up and loved the fairy tales and all that stuff, and then her daughter is doing everything she can to act like an adult and to act grown up and all that stuff. So, and then she gets to go to Neverland. Spoiler, but it says Return to Neverland in the title. I think you'd be able to guess that. So yeah, I really liked that opposites level, and I just thought the story was interesting, and the arc of the daughter, I don't remember her name, I thought it was an interesting little arc. I thought it was really fun. I give Return to Neverland an 8 out of 10. The next movie that I watched in February is another one of the animated movies that was nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Animated Movie, and that is the Apple TV Plus original Wolfwalkers. I thought the concept for Wolfwalkers was so interesting, and I loved the animation style, and then especially near the end, the emotion from the main two lead girls was amazing. Just the plot of what was going on with one of the girls' moms and all that, it was very, very emotional, very, very good. I very much enjoyed Wolfwalkers. I would give Wolfwalkers an 8 out of 10. And the last movie that I watched in February was one that was nominated, I believe, in the Best Supporting Actor category at the Golden Globes, and it was also a movie that was leaving HBO Max soon, because it was one of those movies from the HBO Max deal where it was coming out both on HBO Max and in theaters, but it was only on HBO Max for a limited amount of time, so I watched it on the last day that it was available, and that is The Little Things. The Little Things is not my type of movie, not my type of genre. It takes a lot for me to get into a crime movie. It depends on what the crime is, it depends on who the actors are, and I just didn't really care about this movie, or about what was happening in this movie. There are some interesting aspects. I don't think the actors did a bad job. I think they did pretty well for what they were doing. It's just not my type of genre, not my type of movie. I give The Little Things a 6 out of 10. And that's it for movies. Now let's go into TV shows. I'm going to keep it quick because there's not much that's changed. There's not much that's gone on with TV shows. There's one main TV show I want to talk about for a good amount of time, but let's get into it. So the first TV show thing that I finished in February is I finished season 3 of Ghost Adventures. Just season 3. My Ghost Adventures kick has slowed since January. I only watched the one season, and I think I only had 2 episodes left of the season this month, and I watched those 2 episodes. Still as delightful as those first 2 seasons, so I give Ghost Adventures an A. Next show I finished in February is a show that I have been watching since October, so I'm really proud that I finished this one. I've been trying to slowly catch up and finish on the shows that I started in October that I've just been behind on and needing to finish, and this was one of them. High Fidelity, starring Zoe Kravitz. I finished it. It kind of became a thing where months and months ago, in October, I watched 1 episode, and then I just didn't get back to it, and then I watched episode 2 in the month of February, and I didn't want to stop watching. So I watched the whole rest of the show. That whole night where I watched that second episode, I watched 5 episodes or 6 episodes, and then that next morning I finished it. I finished the last 2 episodes or whatever, however many episodes there were, and it was actually really, 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 really good, guys. I'm so disappointed that it was canceled. I'm so disappointed. There was so many doors left open. Zoe Kravitz's arc was not over. There was still a romance that was budding, and it had been budding, and then she did something that angered the guy, so then the guy didn't want to see her anymore, and so then she was like, okay, and then she walked off. So she had some growth in terms of Zoe Kravitz's character became a better person in a lot of ways, but that was unresolved, and I just know that the makers of High Fidelity, they were fully intending on fixing that relationship / building it and growing it in the second season, and then it was canceled. And the 2 characters who worked in the record shop with Zoe Kravitz, I don't remember anyone's name in this show, but those 2 characters were amazing and hilarious, and I loved them. I loved the New York vibe, I loved the record shop vibe. Also, Thomas Doherty, who I'm a fan of, he was in the show for 2 or 3 episodes. Love him. He was a fun addition for those couple episodes. I loved it. I loved this show, and I am so disappointed that it was canceled, and I really hope that maybe something miraculous happens and it's like picked up, maybe. I doubt that's gonna happen, but like, shame on you, Hulu, for canceling High Fidelity. Shame on you. It was so solid. It was such a solid, fun show, and the episodes are 20 minutes, so I easily flew through it, and I know so many other people who watched it flew through it, so shame on you, Hulu. I give High Fidelity an A+. The next TV show thing that I finished in February is I finished season 3 of Girls. Girls is just as delightful as it has been and good as when I've talked about it in the past. The one thing I have to comment on, and this is kind of bleeding into seasons 4 and 5, which is what I've been watching in March. I've been doing a lot of Girls watching lately. I'm pretty sure that within the next week to week and a half, I will have completed Girls. One thing I just think is interesting to note is that the character of Hannah has gotten worse. I was expecting in like the first and second season, when she was like kind of not a good person, like, you know, she was narcissistic, but I could see deep down where like there could be a good person in there. I saw the potentials of her. She came out and said hello, you know, at least maybe once an episode, maybe once every other episode. There was a little bit of nice Hannah in there, and good, kind-hearted Hannah, but then there was just so many other aspects of her that were just not good. I thought she was gonna have an arc of getting better, and she's gotten worse. She's gotten weird. She's gotten really weird, and she's gotten to where she doesn't know boundaries. She doesn't know how a workplace environment works anymore. And I don't remember if this was in season 3, so I'm just gonna maybe go a little bit into season 4 and 5. But I feel like in seasons 1 and 2, like especially in season 1, some of the jobs she worked, she kind of pretty much almost, for the most part, knew how to work in like a corporal environment to an extent. Yeah, the jobs didn't work out, but she just seemed like she kind of got the whole being professional thing, just a little bit, you know? But it seems like just lately, with the current job she's had in the more recent seasons I'm watching, she's just gotten to where she doesn't know what. It's like, I can't even fathom, like, I don't even want to talk about some of the things she's done. One of the things, if you've seen like season 4 or 5 of Girls, you're gonna know what I'm talking about when I reference this, but there's this one scene where she gets in trouble with, she works at a school, and she gets in trouble with the principal, and he's like saying like, we don't want to fire you because you're a favorite here amongst the students, but you need to know that you can't do this, or blah blah blah. And she shows him something, and I just could not believe the gall on her. I was like, are you kidding? I feel like season 1 Hannah would not do this type of thing. Do you even know what it means to be professional? I like got angry. I like got heated. I was like, Hannah, what are you doing? Are you really that, I don't want to say dumb, but like, what's wrong with her? It's like I don't know. I think it's just kind of in season 5. She's just gotten so weird. I don't remember her being this weird in season 1. It was kind of like Adam, her boyfriend in the earlier seasons. He was the weird one. And then as it's gotten into seasons 3, 4, and 5, Adam has gotten significantly not weird and more normal, which I appreciate because I love Adam Driver in this show, and I appreciate him acting a bit less like how he was in the earlier seasons, where he was just kind of the weird guy, you know, and now they're making it so he's the actor guy and stuff, and he's really how he acted. It's like, I guess he grew, he matured, but it's like then they've flipped it to where then now Hannah was kind of quirky in those first couple seasons and definitely selfish and narcissistic, but now it's like she's just really weird, and really inappropriate, and really just does not know boundaries, does not know how to stop oversharing information about herself to random people in her life that don't really need to know that information. Yeah, that's my little rant on Hannah. I thought she'd be a character that would grow, and she's sunk. She's gotten worse. Did not expect that coming. You never know. There's still season 6. Maybe she's gonna do some huge character arc in season 6. She's gonna have some revelation where she's gonna be like, oh my god, I'm a weird, terrible person, I need to fix myself, and then she does. Maybe. I highly doubt it though. I feel like that would have been something that they should have done over a long course, kind of like how they've done with Adam Driver's character, and like how really what they've done with all the other characters. All the characters have had arcs that I think have been, for the most part, kind of good in ways, except Hannah. Hannah's just gotten worse. But going along the lines of characters growing, Jessa, I feel like she was like interesting in season 1, and then in season 2 she kind of got to being selfish and not that good of a person, but then I feel like over the course of seasons 4 and 5, I know I'm going into the seasons that I've not watched in February, we're living with it because I just want to talk about those seasons. She has grown And I appreciate that because Jessa's one of my favorite characters, and I've loved getting to see her mature, as well as Adam Driver's character. He, I think, is my favorite character. Him and Jessa and Marnie, I think, are my top 3. And I've just loved seeing Adam in the show, but then also Adam Driver. I've loved seeing him grow. Season 3, I think, is really where it kicked off his growth, bringing it back to what I did watch in February. So yeah, that's my main point. Girls still gets an A from me. It's gonna be really weird when I finish the show. I'm really attached to the characters, so it's gonna be weird not having a new episode of Girls to watch every day. And the next show that I finished in February, and this one is a doozy, guys, and technically I watched the series finale of this show in March. Watched it this morning, actually, to be exact, but I'm counting it as I finished it in February because I don't want to wait a whole nother month just to talk about the series finale of this show, so I'm talking about it now. This show is WandaVision. I loved WandaVision, and let me just say, I have been on the Scarlet Witch and Vision train since I first watched Age of Ultron back in 2016. Since then, Scarlet Witch has been one of my favorite characters, and since then, their relationship of Vision and Wanda have been one of my favorite things. And yes, even when the only hint of a relationship between the two of them we had gotten so far in the series or in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was Age of Ultron, and it was literally just spoilers for Age of Ultron, but it was the scene whenever Wanda was like killing Ultron, or she was doing something with Ultron. I don't remember, but there was like, she was in rage over her Quicksilver, her brother Pietro, dying, and she was going into full-on, Scarlet Witch rage like she sometimes does, and then I think she killed Ultron from what I remember, and then she was just there, kind of just empty, as she is and sometimes, and Vision comes and like picks her up and like not saves her, but like takes her away, like helps her out. I can't really explain the scene that well because it's been a couple years since I watched that scene. But since I watched that scene, I saw it. I haven't read any of the comics, so I didn't know they were together in the comics, right? I saw that scene between them in Age of Ultron. I saw that spark and that sudden, you hadn't really seen, because Vision, this was his first movie where Vision was Vision, in Age of Ultron, and he was created into this being in this movie, and you hadn't really seen him like care for someone necessarily yet, because he's a robot and he was learning kind of what it is to be human in a way. And that was just kind of, for me, the first spark I got of Vision caring and Vision loving Wanda, or at least at this point being drawn to her. I feel like he was drawn to her. He saw her grief, and he saw her in need, and he saw her be amazing and take down Ultron. He saw all those things, and he was like, I don't know. I may be getting some of the scene wrong because it's been a minute, so if I'm wrong about something, I'll have probably corrected it up here, specified things. I'm going to probably go rewatch the scene while editing this just to make sure, see what I'm talking about, see if I'm accurate on this, but I don't know. I just remember seeing that scene, and I was like, oh my god, I totally ship Wanda and Vision. I see something between them. I saw it in Age of Ultron, and from that moment when I watched the movie like a year after it came out or whatever, because I was like catching up on all the Marvel movies back in 2016 before Civil War came out, I saw that spark. And then Civil War came out, Infinity War came out, and their relationship grew in those two movies, and I was just like, I have been here since movie 1 of them knowing each other, It's like, I've been here, and I would see so many things online. When I'd see people like review Age of Ultron, or when I'd see them review Civil War, and I even people who read the comics and stuff, and they would say things about how they do not care about Wanda and Vision's relationship, and they don't really see it as like anything important in the movies, and that both of those characters are just kind of there, and every time I'm like, are you kidding? Wanda is one of the most powerful people here, and Vision is so compelling. He's such a compelling character, and when you put them together, I just loved them. I've loved them since the beginning. So this show, WandaVision, I've been looking forward to it ever since it was announced. I was like, yes, we are getting the attention that these two characters deserve. And then especially today, seeing on Twitter everyone talking about after the season finale of like, oh my god, Wanda and Vision have now become two of my favorite characters in all all of the MCU, and people talking about how, like, and people confessing that when they watched Civil War and Avengers Age of Ultron for the first time, they were like, they confessed, you know, I didn't really care about them at first, but now this movie has me full on shipping them and has me full on caring about them in a way I never thought I would, and I'm here like, join the club. I've been here for oh my god, I was about to say 4 years, as if it's 2019. I've been here for 6 years. I've been on the WandaVision train for 6 years, y'all. So, other than that, other than my appreciation of how I've been so early on this relationship of Wanda and Vision for so long, I loved this show, y'all. I loved just the tonal difference it had that was different, like the tonal difference between this show and everything else Marvel has done. Yes, after episode 4, it did get to be kind of more along the lines of basic Marvel, but as someone who loves basic Marvel, I was completely happy. But then I also loved every sitcom episode. I just loved that shift. I loved how accurate they were kind of able to make it, and just how mesmerizing they made it. Just how, like, whenever you're watching it, it was just like, oh my god, this feels like watching a sitcom in the 50s. This feels like watching the Brady Bunch. This feels like watching Malcolm in the Middle, even though I have not watched Malcolm in the Middle, but you know, it seemed pretty accurate, you know? But just, oh my god. I'm gonna put a little spoiler card somewhere for WandaVision. I just have to talk about some of the big stuff that happened, you know? Okay, so when a lot of y'all may be aware of a lot of the huge theories that were talked about online regarding this show, I was one of the ones who was fully on board for a lot of the theories, but I made sure to not let the theories not coming true disappoint me, because I do really just appreciate how much of the show was like a growth for Wanda and for Vision as characters, and it really was a way to be able to make the audience understand how complex and amazing these characters are. But I was fully on the train that the aerospace engineer was gonna be Reed Richards, and it was gonna be John Krasinski showing up as Reed Richards, and then I was also fully on the train that, what's his name, Evan Peters showing up as Quicksilver was gonna be some introduction into maybe the multiverse, or maybe the residents of Westview were going to be the start of the offspring of mutants. So I was fully on that train, and I don't know. I was also really big on the train that Patrick Stewart was maybe going to be the Luke Skywalker cameo. I was fully convinced it was probably going to be Patrick Stewart, not gonna lie. Yeah, none of that happened. I'm not gonna let it disappoint me though, because we know Fantastic Four is coming. So if it's gonna be John Krasinski as Reed Richards, which it better be, because I want that casting so bad. Him and Emily Blunt as Reed Richards, and the other Sue, I'm not too familiar with Fantastic Four, but his wife, you know, in Reed Richards' wife, they just fit. They just fit. The like fan art I've seen of them, they fit. I want it so bad, right? And so we know that the Fantastic Four's coming. So we just have to wait it out. We just have to wait that one out. And then I still do have, we know the multiverse is coming because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So there could be maybe some elements of WandaVision in terms of multiverses that are talked about later on in the Doctor Strange sequel that they just didn't have time or the knowledge to talk about in WandaVision, and maybe it'll be talked about later. Maybe they'll have discovered something that happened during the WandaVision events that has something effect later on in the movies, you know? And then I still do have a feeling that maybe there could be some tie to what happened in Westview to mutants. I still think it could be possible. Yeah, it wasn't covered in the show itself, but it could be a thing where then, because we saw Monica Rambeau came out of Westview and her DNA was changed and altered and she had powers. I still am curious, is that going to happen with other people who went inside the Hex? Is that going to happen with them? Or is it going to happen with, maybe if not them, maybe their kids? If some of the younger ones who were in the Hex have children, are they going to be born with powers? AKA, are the children who come out of Westview going to be the start of the mutants in the world? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it makes sense to me. But again, I have no idea. As we've been proven with all these theories that I feel like half of Twitter were convinced were going to happen, we've now been proven that no matter how much Marvel alludes to maybe those things are going to happen, we can then see that none of it happens. And it's all completely different than we think it's going to end. So I have no idea if the mutants are in any way going to be tied to the residents of Westview or maybe their future children. I just feel like it's just interesting to have Monica maybe be the only regular human being come out of the Hex. having powers. I just feel like there has to be some sort of there has to be some sort of follow through with that later on in the movies, some sort of result that happens in those following movies where we see the damages maybe done to the residents of Westview and their kids, and then as the kids maybe, you know, move out of Westview and go to other cities and repopulate and they have kids, but also that's generations in the future. So it's like that would be the movies having to go decades in the future to then see those X-Men kids. So I don't know. Comment down below what you think. Comment down below maybe what theories you're having, what you thought of WandaVision. Agatha, the Agatha All Along song. Whew, I love that song, y'all. I love It Was Agatha All Along. It's just such a bop. It's such a good song, man. Also, Agatha Harkness as a villain, one of my favorite Marvel villains. She's so complex. I loved the scene in the episode 8, that's episode before the series finale, that like her little backstory in Salem. Loved that. Loved seeing the witch backstory. I thought that was so interesting. Scarlet Witch, or Wanda's transformation into the Scarlet Witch in the final episode with the costume and the crown. Beautiful, amazing. I love her. Again, she's always been one of my favorite Avengers, one of my favorites along with Spider-Man. So I just love seeing her get the attention and the praise she deserves. I've been on her train for 6 years, y'all. We know this. I'm just really curious to see what's gonna happen with the after effects of the show. Where's White Vision? The white one that got all of his memories back? Is he Vision? Does he remember Wanda? Does he love Wanda? Is it Vision? Like the Vision we knew before he died in Infinity War and then came back in Westview. Is it the same one, just now in a different corporal body? I don't know the word, but body or whatever, like now a white one, but is it him? Why did he fly off? Because I feel like if it's him, if he has his memories restored and it's a version of him that does love Wanda, why did he fly away? Why didn't he go with Hex Vision to help save her or to help fight? I don't know. I don't know, but I know that they're not just gonna leave that hanging. We'll probably see something about that in Doctor Strange 2, probably. Comment down below what you thought of WandaVision. I loved it. I'm so excited for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier premiering in a couple of weeks. Very exciting. I'm so happy Marvel's back. I just love Marvel. I love them. I love them. WandaVision gets an A+ from me. The next show that I started and finished in February is a limited series that was pretty big in the fall on HBO, and that was The Undoing, starring Nicole Kidman and what's his name? Hugh Grant. That's his name. Yeah, starring Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant amongst other actors that I'm a fan of. This show was fantastic. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I watched it within a couple days. Definitely one of the best limited series of 2020, and Nicole Kidman did a fantastic job. The ending kind of blew me away, just what actually happened. I was not expecting it. So good job on The Undoing for blowing my mind for all that, you know. Hugh Grant did amazing. The kid actor that I'm blanking on the name of, but I'm a big fan of his, the son, fantastic. Snow from the Hunger Games, President Snow, fantastic, did a great job. The girl from American Horror Story, Lily Rabe. Anyways, she did fantastic, loved her in it. I loved the show. The Undoing gets an A+ from me. And the other show that I started and finished in February is season 1 of The Wilds, an an Amazon Prime original. I thought The Wilds was really good. I watched this one as well within, I think, about 4 or 5 days. I thought it was a really compelling story and a really good character study into all of these teen girls. And I'm really excited what they do next. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the show was renewed. So I'm very much looking forward to a season 2 of The Wilds. I'm a very big fan of like the internet personality on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. His name's Johnny Birchtold. I've been following him on the internet for like a year. I discovered him from the video that actually his sister posted, that was a video he had made in response to his sister like not answering his FaceTime call, and it was like not a haiku, but it was like a poem, or it was like a, what's it called? What are those things called? Like slam poetry, maybe? Maybe that could be the word, where he was like, "Fister, fake sister." all this stuff where he was like, you're going to see Gaga. I don't know, I'll put a little clip of it just so y'all can see what I'm talking about so I don't seem crazy.
Yeah, I had a sister, but more like a fister, fake sister. She needs some Listerine to rinse out her bad breath. Kings of Leon, the band, is something that she would never understand because she's going to see Queen. And she's going to see Gaga.
He's hilarious. Highly recommend going and checking him out on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. He's on all three of the platforms. He's so funny. He's just a really fun guy and a fun actor, and he actually had a small role in The Wilds, and I knew that going in, but I didn't know what episode he was in, and I didn't want to look it up because I wanted it to be a surprise when he came up, because he was like the one actor I knew from the show and I was excited to see. And of course he didn't show up till the very last episode, and I was like waiting, and he showed up and he did fantastic. I'm so proud of him. I feel like proud. Like, we don't know each other. Me and Johnny Birchtold are not friends, but just with how long I've been following him on the internet since that fake sister video, I feel like I'm just proud of him. I'm proud of that role, and I am always going to be proud to see like what roles he gets in the future. I hope he gets more success, but yeah. Big fan of Johnny Birchtold, big fan of The Wilds. The Wilds was great. I give The Wilds an A. And that's it for shows that I finished or started and finished or finished seasons of in February. I also started a couple shows and a couple seasons. I'll just list them here. I've obviously started season 4 of Ghost Adventures. I've not made any progress in it though. I started season 1 of The Crown. I'm trying to get into The Crown, y'all. I watched season 1 when The Crown first came out and I thought it was fine. But The Crown gets so much hype, y'all, and it won a lot of awards at the Golden Globes. So I really want to be one of those people who watches The Crown. So I'm rewatching season 1 to then go into the rest of the seasons. I've obviously, according to this, I've started season 4 of Girls. As of now, I'm past that. I'm at season 5, but you know, it's okay. And then I've also started the limited series from Hulu called A Teacher. I have, I think, like 7 episodes left. I've only watched, I think, 3 episodes. Interesting show. And that's it. Those are the shows I've continued. Obviously, there's still the shows that I've been watching since like October and around in November and all that stuff that I still haven't finished. You'll see them in my wrap-up list I'm going to give in a couple seconds. My main goal is to finish Lovecraft Country. I just need to finish it. But anyways, I've been doing this for the past 2 wrap-ups I've filmed where I put up a little list here of everything I'm watching as of the end of February. I'm going to change it up a little bit, so instead of it being as of the last day of February, I'm going to put it where it's everything I'm watching as of the time of filming this, because like I'm not on season 4 of Girls anymore like I was on February 28th. I'm now on season 5, and I'm not still watching WandaVision like I was February 28th. I've now finished WandaVision, so WandaVision will not be on the list of currently still watching. So for those who don't know about this list, this is just going to be every single thing that I am currently still making my way through and watching as of the time of me filming this video at the beginning of March. Here's that list. And that wraps it up. I'd say if I was going to make some goals for the month of March, kind of going to be just kind of the same as last month, get through as many awards season movies as humanly possible as the SAG Awards and as the Academy Awards creep up on us. I want to try and kind of complete the same goal as I did in February, where I watched 20 movies. I'd like to be able to do that again. I'd like to be able to complete 2 TV shows, like fully, like not like, oh, complete a season of them. Like I want to be able to complete the show, whether it's a 1-season show or whether it's a show that has multiple seasons. I want to complete 2 shows, and then I want to finish Lovecraft Country. Y'all, it's only 1 season. Come on. I only have, I think, like 6 or 7 episodes, or 8. I don't know how many episodes are in the season, but like I've watched 2, I think I have 8 left, so I just need to finish it. I just need to watch and get sucked into it and finish. I'd also obviously love to make some progress on Jessica Jones, Doctor Who, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, some of those shows that I have been watching, Friends, some shows I've been watching for a couple of months now. I'd love to make some progress on that. No promises though. As y'all saw at the beginning of this video, I've been really into reading, so I'm not gonna force myself to watch things when I'd rather be reading, because reading's a good use of my time as well, and I need to get through these books. They're all I'm thinking about. It was a struggle to get ready to make this video because I didn't want to stop reading. So if I want to read, I'm gonna read. When I want to watch TV shows, it's probably gonna, for the foreseeable future, gonna be Girls that I'm watching. But as soon as I finish Girls, then I'll probably finish a Teacher. I don't know, I'm just kind of running through it. And then I also want to make some progress through Mad Men. I've only watched one episode of Mad Men. But I'm not gonna make myself any promises because I don't want to just let myself down at the end of March. So my one TV show goal, besides finishing two TV shows, is to have one of them be Lovecraft Country. Mark my words, let's see where I'm at the end of March. Let's see where I'm at. And that is it for today's video, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can already tell it's gonna be a long one. I apologize that these wrap-ups are like pretty long. I really don't want them to be. I want them to be like 20 to 30 minute videos, and it seems like they're more commonly gonna be 40 minutes to an hour. I'm trying to make that not happen. I just love to talk. I just love to talk, guys. I'm sorry. And I love to talk about things I've watched. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna start doing, I did this for my last video, and I'm meaning to go back to my past wrap-ups and also do this. I just haven't had the time to, but I'm gonna start putting like little time stamps, time codes for everything that I'm talking about. I'm gonna leave them in the description, and I'm gonna leave them in the way so then they'll like be like in the video itself. You can like see it. Just so, because I know all of y'all probably haven't watched all these things. You may not want to hear about it, or maybe you are going to watch it, so you don't want to be spoiled for anything, so you want to skip over it. So I'm leaving little time codes. I'm just gonna do that for y'all. I think it looks really nice and it's really fun. I like to be able to see on the little video like the exact amount I've talked about each thing and like compare them. Like, oh, this thing I talked about it for 9 minutes, while this thing I only talked about it for 45 seconds. I like that. I don't know why that makes my brain happy, but I'm hoping that'll help with this video possibly being near an hour long. I'm hoping that will ease that pain. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit the little notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. My uploading schedule is pretty whack and pretty weird right now, just because I'll like get behind on my like internal schedule I have for myself, and then I'll want to catch up, and then I'll like upload a lot of videos like right around each other. I'm trying to get to where my videos are consistent. Hopefully that'll be happening soon, especially by the time I upload this video. It should be happening. If everything goes right, I should start uploading kind of more on a consistent basis of like when I upload each month or each week and all that. Stay tuned. I'm not gonna make any promises. I'm a full-time college student, and I have a full-time job, so try my best. Also, make sure to follow me on social media. My Instagram is @RachelRimini, my Twitter is @Rachel_Rimini, and my letterboxd is just my name, Rachel Rimini. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye!